With this video, I begin an examination of the 24 preludes and fugues of Part 2 of Johann Sebastian Bach's Well-Tempered Clavier, as promised. This volume was brought out in 1742, 2 full decades after Volume 1. It traces exactly the same path, but through the eyes of a great musical inventor in the final years of his life. I have to start with a confession. I may have heard these preludes and fugues at some time in my life, but if my experience of the music at this first stage is any indication, I don't remember a note of it. That means that some of you are probably beginning this part of the journey more informed than I, and what you see here will be the artifacts of a game of catch-up. A little parallel reading will make it clear that I am by no means alone in my unfamiliarity with Part 2. That seems to be the case generally. Incidentally, if you're wondering about my terminology, my use of parts 1 and 2 rather than the more usual books 1 and 2 is that when Bach brought out the second edition, he subtitled it Zweiter Teil, and I have gone with a direct translation of that. I trust you'd long ago figured that it was something like that. In my work on these movements, I've been struck by the overall shape of the four. These four movements begin and end in high seriousness. I believe that description accurately fits both the C major prelude and the C minor fugue. But the inner movements, also of course set in parallel keys, are the light-hearted ones. I doubt I'll be doing much stage-by-stage comparison between parallel works in both parts, but I think it's not insignificant that Bach opened this collection with a prelude that does bear a family resemblance to its 1722 counterpart. But look how much more ambitious this one is, a bewitching exercise in four-part polyphonic counterpoint, its various motives gliding easily through the various registers of the instrument, setting themselves in constantly new configurations vis-a-vis each other throughout, and generating in their composite rhythm an easy, unbroken flow of semiquavers. The music is introspective, sometimes quite serious, and overall seems perfectly formed. A work of exquisite craftsmanship and rare beauty. The fugue that follows is the cheerful one of this first chromatic stage. Its tidy, harmonically closed subjects, two discrete parts, the head motive and continuation, furnishing the raw materials from which a movement of astonishingly dance-like quality is crafted, laid out in neat 4-bar phrases and closed with a wonderfully emphatic final phrase that includes some A-flats borrowed from the parallel minor. They go by so hurriedly that they're easy to miss, just as in the final cadential approach of the preceding prelude, with that A-flat set as a member of a borrowed leading tone diminished 7th chord. I mention this curious little darkening detail only because it is so curious. I wonder what Bach was trying to say with those A-flats. The C minor prelude is a nimble and quite merry thing considering its mode. It takes the form of a 2-part invention with invertible counterpoint throughout, organized in 2 repeated strains whose tonal trajectory foreshadows the much more worked out sonata form of the following decades without actually being that. I find it impossible to imagine minor key music more jovial in manner or more enjoyable to listen to than this. The companion fugue, although not long, is a formidable masterpiece, its argument delivered with utmost gravitas and worked out in exquisite polyphonic detail. The fugue opens with another of those minor key subjects whose shape practically foretells its own inversion, an inversion to be used near the end in the context of a stretto-like unfolding that dominates the entirety of the second half of the movement. You'll see 2 permutations of that subject in use, with the prime form also appearing in rhythmic augmentation twice. It's all amazing and a splendid send-off on our second ascent of the chromatic gamut with Father Bach as guide. The pianist is Tatiana Nikolayeva, whose playing I very much enjoy.